Good afternoon. Well, we start with the news from the Presidency and President Cyril Ramaphosa appointing members of the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council. The Presidency confirming the chair of the council is Professor Firoz Cachalia. Also on the council, the founding head of Corruption Watch, David Lewis, joined now by the presidential spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya. Vincent, good afternoon to you and thank you for your time. What do you expect the members of the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council to do?
Good afternoon, Stephen, and good afternoon to your viewers. The expectation is that they will enhance government's capacity in fighting corruption by providing strategic advice with respect to the implementation of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy. It's a group of people drawn from civil society, business, and other sectors, which is important because corruption is not only located in one particular sector. It's a broader societal problem. And therefore, the president is seeking inputs from a wide section or a broad section of people with expertise, as well as people who can enhance the state's capacity with respect to the fight against corruption.
It's an interesting group. I mean, Professor Firoz Cachalia, the chair, he's someone who's an expert on governance, I think still at Wits, also has his own experience in government. He was the MEC for Community Safety in Gauteng many years ago. David Lewis, the founding executive director of Corruption Watch. These are people who are experts and may be able to advise you, for example, on what systems allow corruption to happen and which systems prevent it.
Indeed, Stephen, that's the idea, is that the president as well as the government gets the benefit of all these diverse sets of expertise, experiences, because, as you know, Stephen, corruption is not a stagnant phenomenon. It's evolving. It's becoming a lot more sophisticated. Those who are involved in corruption use all sorts of sophisticated ways to cover their tracks. Therefore, it's important that as government sharpens its arsenal against corruption, it does so in a manner that reflects the scale and magnitude of the challenge, but also draws from the skills and expertise that are available in society.
How were the members selected?
The members were selected on the basis of their expertise. Some of the members were seconded or were nominated or suggested from some of the civil society and other organizations that the president interacted with. So it was in that regard that they were selected. You will know, Stephen, that the president spends a fair amount of time engaging various constituencies across the country on a wide variety of matters, and issues of corruption always come up, and in some cases people will suggest individuals or they'll suggest themselves as being able to contribute or make inputs into the process. But it's not a rigid or a statutory guided sort of process, but it's a process that considers all these factors in terms of diversity of skills, in terms of diversity of different sectors and subsectors, as well as individual experiences that you've alluded to earlier on.
On a related topic, you would have seen, I'm sure, the arrests today for the alleged corruption at Transnet. This was well traversed, and there was a lot of testimony about it at the State Capture Commission. There were findings by the Chief Justice Raymond Zondo as well. I'm talking, of course, about Anoj Singh and Brian Molefe, who were arrested today. Does the presidency have a reaction to those arrests? Do you welcome these arrests by the Hawks and the NPA?
Well, Stephen, generally we always welcome any sort of progress that is made by law enforcement agencies, whether it be in the area of violent crimes or in the area of corruption. What is important now is for due process to take its course and for that process to be allowed to run through the courts. But any progress that law enforcement agencies make in this regard is always welcome. It also talks to the amount of effort broadly that is being put towards eradicating corruption in all sectors of our society. You will have seen the president's weekly letter, which enumerates the various interventions since 2018, as well as the outcomes of those interventions in the battle against corruption. Is it enough? No, it's not. We need to do more, and we can certainly do more working together with members of the public, with law enforcement agencies, coordinating amongst themselves, working together, because it's an ongoing battle that we need to fight. It's not a once-off event. But in a nutshell, any sort of progress in this regard is always welcome.
An issue that's not necessarily related to corruption, but does involve the President's cabinet, and I'm talking about the Finance Minister, Enoch Godongwana. He strongly denied a claim of sexually harassing or sexually assaulting a female masseuse at a resort near the Kruger National Park, or in the Kruger National Park, really. We understand that he has made a warning statement, in other words, a statement under warning from the Hawks, that the docket has gone to the National Prosecuting Authority, and they're now going to make a decision. Is the President at this stage considering taking action against the Finance Minister?
Well, that will be Stephen, a preemptive action that's not informed by any of our laws. So the President will rather allow that process to run its course until such time we have something on the table that is informed by a strong legal basis. The President cannot act just preemptively and out of haste. He will have to look at the facts and be informed by legal due process with respect to any decision he may or may not take in this regard.
The NPA said last week, the NPA's Mpumalanga spokesperson said last week, that a decision could take weeks or even months. I mean, can we really, in a country with such high levels of gender-based violence, have a finance minister face these allegations and the President doesn't act? I understand the point that you make, that the NPA hasn't made a decision yet. But in the end, decisions around a cabinet are entirely the President. That's what the Constitution says. And while they're not really legal at all, they're almost always political. Do you really think he can stay in cabinet while we await this decision?
So maybe, Stephen, let me emphasize that the President remains committed in the fight against GBV. Tomorrow in Parliament, some of these issues will be addressed in terms of what government has done to date in addressing issues of GBV. So that commitment from the President remains unwavering. Secondly, Stephen, we are a country of laws. And sometimes we have to comply with these laws even when emotionally and otherwise we may feel it is not necessary to do so. It will be preemptive, Stephen, for the President to take any action that's not informed by legal due process, and it could have other consequences further down the line. One hopes that whatever processes that are currently underway will be concluded fairly quickly, in the interest of both parties, in the interest of the alleged victim, as well as in the interest of the minister. One will hope that there will be no further delays. But on the side of the President, I guess the message remains the same, Stephen. And as you followed President Ramaphosa, you will know that at no time in the course of his serving as either Deputy President or as the President has he ever acted outside of the parameters of the law. He will do so in this case. He will allow the investigations to take place. He will wait to be informed by legal due process on the next steps that he's supposed to take. But that does not mean that he does not regard the issue of gender-based violence as a massive challenge in the country. All it says is that let's just allow the law to take its course, and let's allow these processes and not have a situation where a head of state just acts in a hastily manner and ignores the prescripts of the law that guides his every action.
Tomorrow in Parliament, as I understand, the President will be taking questions in the National Assembly. I don't speak for any of the political parties, Vincent, but I'm sure you won't be surprised, and I'll give you a hint of what I'm sure they're about to ask. One of the words will be Pala, and the other word would also be Pala. Are you expecting questions around Pala Pala tomorrow? Is the President ready to answer those questions?
Indeed, Stephen, we are. As you know, the process, some of the questions were forwarded or were sent to the President in advance, and they do include the Pala Pala matter. So the President will gladly respond, as he should, respond to those questions. I think what's important here is, regardless of the question, the commitment or the obligation to accountability is one that firmly remains with the President. He will never shy away from any form of accountability. And so the session tomorrow is not so much informed by the nature of the questions, but it's informed by the principle of accountability that the President respects, that is obligated in any case to respect. So he will be participating in that spirit. The nature of the questions is then taken within that spirit of accountability.
Vincent Magwenya, really appreciate the time. Thank you very much indeed. The spokesperson for President Cyril Ramaphosa with you on Newsfeed this afternoon.